Why are we afraid to say things that are true? Things that are true don't hurt people's feelings. Yeah, but the Bible calls us to stand up. God doesn't want you to be mean. How can it be God if it makes people get the sads? Jesus was meek, but Jesus wasn't weak. Love thy neighbor. We're supposed to be nice. Hugs, happies. Shouldn't we say no? The government does not have a right to tell us when and how we can worship God? Christians revolt against the government? We'll show the world God's love by not going to church. And through not going to church, we will reach more people. So you're telling me it's fine that we can go to a strip club and drink liquor, but we can't go to church and take the Lord's Supper? Love thy neighbor, just like I love myself. And I love myself a ton. Love, self-love, self-care, Care Bears share. It just seems to me that we no longer point at something and say, that is wrong. Puppies, kittens, like pro-life issues. We're not allowed to say that anymore. Pro-life is good. Being pro-life means that you're pro-immigrant, pro-Muslim, pro-identity group, pro-puppy, pro-woke cookies. Life means that that unborn child has inherent value. We shouldn't be able to take that life. That actually wounded me. Thought we were supposed to be strong. I'm for kindness. I'm for empathy. So be nice. I thought we were supposed to hold leaders accountable for their lives. That's so judgmental. We all mess up. Is there not a standard that our Christian leaders are supposed to have in order to keep ministering? La 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 la. I can't hear you. Why are we afraid? That's just offensive. You just committed murder against my feelings. Hate speech isn't free speech, okay? Love, 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 love. Puppies, rainbows, love. Cooper stuff! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Cooper Stuff. It's so cool to be here. Does it seem to you guys a little bit like Christians have gone a little weak? Let's just say it, gone a little soft. Every time I've said the title, Christians Gone Weak, I can hear an auto-tune song in my head. Maybe somebody can make an auto-tune song. It's like, Christians Gone Weak. I hear it. I can. It's like an old Lady Gaga song. Christians Gone Weak. Anyway, we're going to work on that. Jen Ledger would love it, I bet. Christians have gone a little soft. Can I say it? I said it. I said it. We've gone a little soft and we've gone a little weak. I think there's some interesting reasons why in my brain. Look, I'll give you some opinions. I'll tell you some of the things I think. Talk about some of the philosophies. First, I need to mention, as you already know, I am so very excited. My book came out 3 days ago, and we had incredible reaction from you guys. So sincerely, to all the Cooper Stuff fans, I want to say a huge thank you. I'm so excited to get this book out. So thank all you guys for your support. If you're interested in getting the book, there's still time for Christmas. And it's great for evangelism. It's great for your kids if you got teenagers, college students, whatever, or if you're a parent and you want to start teaching your kids these kind of things. It's about foundational theology. Also very evangelistic, and I think it's very poignant. That's a great word, right? Poignant. Go check that out at my website, johnlcooper.com/awake. All right, what are we going to talk about today? Christians Gone Weak. Oh my gosh, it would be a hit. Okay, so first of all, let me give you some of the bullet points. I think the church could be doing a better job at a lot of stuff. I think we could be bolder. I think we could be stronger. I think that it's time for us to really grow a backbone, all right? Time to grow a backbone. And I think that some of the reason that we are not, I think it's multifaceted, okay? And let me say one of those things. One of those things I do believe, and I'm going to try to be gracious, one of those things I think comes from a good place. It is a place of wanting to live authentic Christian life. But I do believe that is in a misinterpretation of Scripture. And I'm going to share some of those things with you and why I think that is. I also think that it's a bit of a misunderstanding of really what America is about. And the reason the America matters in it is because it would be a very different situation under a different kind of government. So what we're kind of struck with is, how does the Christian live in a society where the government works for the people. And I think that that's very different, all right? So, in other words, we could live in lots of different kinds of government. You could live in a tyrannical government. You could live in a government that does not recognize natural rights in the way that America does. And I think that really plays in a difference. So I think it's a misunderstanding of Americanism and the greatness of America and the greatness of the philosophies that underpin this country. And then it's also a misunderstanding, I believe, of strength into Scripture, all right? And so what I would like to do at some point, not today, I would like to have somebody else smarter than me, to be honest, come on and talk about this. I believe that it's kind of pulling back the curtain a little bit about Christian pacifism and what that kind of theology of pacifism looks like and why I think that that's a little off. And I think that we're beginning to see it. So now you have growing, factions within Christianity. Some of those factions want Christians to hold the line and whatever it takes, we're going to stand up and be those strong, bold people. And then there are other people that say, no, the best thing we can do for Christ is to not be those loud, strong, bold people demanding that churches reopen or demanding, I don't know, to not wear a mask, or I'm having people at Thanksgiving no matter what they say, those kinds of things. There are factions growing, and I think that some of this is to do with a little bit of Christian pacifism. So we'll talk about that. I also want to get into just a few practical things that have happened in the last few weeks. I think it might be cool to see what's happened in these few weeks and then break it down and how that has to do with this subject. But in saying those bullet points, I'll just give you the goods now. We need Christians to be bold. And when I say be bold, I don't just mean be loud about your faith, which I also like, by the way. I don't mean just evangelizing, which I love it. This world needs Jesus so bad. Jesus is the only thing that can put this country back together, that can put this world back together. Jesus is the hope for the earth. I obviously believe that. So I do mean bold like that, but I believe that we need to be bold in what is our civic duty at this point. And I do not believe that the answer lies in what I call Christian pacifism. Well, it's not just me that calls it that. That's a thing. Just be quiet. Don't rock the boat any. Don't make people mad. Don't say things if it's going to hurt somebody's feelings, because we have to be loving to everybody, yada, 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 so on and so forth. We'll get into why I think some of those things as we talk about the events of the week, all right? Before we do that, I want to say something about our first sponsor. As you guys already know, I'm excited about the Compassion 12 Days of Christmas. Tomorrow is actually the very last day, and tomorrow is Tuesday. I don't know when you're watching this program. We already have well over 70 people signed up. I'm going for 100 people, and I just want to say a huge thank you. I was really moved as I was reading your comments, and I saw a lot of people saying, okay, John, I joined up with you. What I found was that a lot of the people signing up already sponsor kids, and I was really moved by it. Some of your comments said, well, I already sponsor a kid, but I'm going to sponsor another one through this year through the John Cooper Christmas with Compassion. That was so cool. I'm amazed to see how much the people of God show their love and compassion, and it really moved me, to be 100% honest with you. If you don't know what it is, here's what it is. Compassion 12 Days of Christmas. We are raising sponsorships for children in Uganda. You sponsor a child and you make a commitment for a year, and you pay every single month. And what does that kid get? He gets fed or she gets clothed. They get to go to school. They teach them how to do stuff. It's so cool. You get letters from your children that you sponsor, and you find out the subjects in school that they're studying. And they, you find out what they do, their chores, they learn to feed chickens and things like that. It's actually really super amazing work. So I believe it's a small way to help change the world. So tomorrow's the last day to sign up for that. If you want to do it, you go to compassion.com/John Cooper Christmas. And as you know, as a thank you, we are giving all of you guys that sign up a pass to the live stream event, which is going to be fun. It's going to be with me, and I'm going to answer some of your questions, Q&A. You're also going to see a couple of special videos, inside and stuff into my life. I'm going to play a song for you guys, stuff like that, just as a thank you. I appreciate you guys signing up. Okay, let's jump into this. Why do I say Christians gone weak? Christians gone weak. Why do I say that? Gosh, I hear the autotune. Every time I say it, I hear the autotune in my head. Somebody needs to make it happen. There's a couple of different things here, and I want to acknowledge it. For one thing, there are a ton of fantastic Christian people who love God and are committed to God, and people that I very much respect that probably fall on a different side than I do on this. And there is a gracious position that I want to have for that. A lot of these people, to be 100% honest with you, live much more godly lives than I do. They're people I look up to and people that I go, hey, I would really like to be like that. They pray more than I do. They read their Bible more than I do. They are great people. So I want to say that from the get, all right? That's young people talk, which means from the beginning. So from the get, let me tell you, I want to say that. Great people, but I disagree with them on the theology of it. A lot of the theology comes into this. It comes into this kind of this pacifism idea, which is based on the Bible. It's based on scriptures. Like, if somebody slaps you in the right cheek, you turn the other cheek. The world will know us by our love, things like that, right? Not repaying people for what they deserve. There's lots of scriptures like that. We know this. Jesus said amazing things about loving your enemy, praying for your enemy. Jesus said, like, you've heard it said to love your neighbor, to love your friend, and this, that, and the other. And he's basically saying, look, even pagans do that. You don't need the Spirit of God inside of you to be nice to people who are already nice to you. Even the pagans do that, he says. But I tell you to pray for your enemies. So it's a radical thing. The ethical life of Jesus and the ethical words of Jesus were life-changing, literally world-altering, all right? So that is it is a real thing. But it's important to remember this, that it wasn't just the ethical life of Jesus that was world-altering. The Judaic law in the Old Testament that came from God, that was also life-altering. A lot of people don't understand the culture of the time when God began to give the law, the moral law and whatnot to the Israelites. So at that time, it was a really radical thing, right? Like, for instance, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Well, yeah, there were other cultures that believed in eye for tooth for a tooth, but a lot of other cultures, they weren't very just. In other words, if there was a poor person, let's say a poor person did something bad. Well, if they were poor, then it was okay for you to treat them really, really badly. So in other words, if the poor stole from somebody, well, then you could take a tooth out. Or if a poor person slapped you, you don't slap them back, you take a tooth out. In other words, not everyone was treated equally under the law in different cultures. And so the Judaic law, which, what America is founded on, Judeo-Christian ethics and law, that was a really radical thing. And so, like the idea of witnesses, for instance. So if somebody, claimed that they came and stole my sheep or whatever, you couldn't just go and kill that person. You couldn't just go and take some of their sheep. Under the Judaic law, you had to have two witnesses, as you know. You had to have witnesses for crimes. It set up a system of justice that was incredibly just. And so, in other words, the Judaic law was a really radical transformation from the other cultures of the time. And so, a lot of this, to me, is founded when we look at Jesus's words. You guys remember, and this is what it comes down to when people say, love your neighbor. You hear that all the time. Jesus said to love the Lord your God with all your heart and to love your neighbor as yourself. One of the things we don't say a whole lot in that context is that basically, as you know, the religious leaders were trying to catch Jesus in a pickle. They always try to catch him in riddles. Well, which one of the laws is the most important? And so basically, that's how Jesus answers. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength. And the other is like it. Love your neighbor as you've already loved yourself. We know that. But he also says this. All of the laws and the prophets are summed up in these two commandments. Now, that's something we don't hear a whole lot of the time. And the reason I say it is it's very, very important. Because what that means is that the Old Testament law actually is really good and is summed up in those 2 commandments that Jesus gives us, right? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. The law, the moral law, and the ceremonial law, whatever you would call it, all of that stuff is summed up in these words of Christ. Well, then now all of a sudden that changes it, because you see a lot of Christians tend to go, yeah, but we're under grace, we're not under the law. Which is true, by the way. Thank the Lord. Grace is so much better than the law. We should worship God and thank him that we are under grace, okay? But that's not because the law was bad. It's just not ideal to be under the law, because the law reveals to us how sinful we actually are. If it were not for the law, then we couldn't understand what sin was, and we wouldn't understand how wicked we actually are. So the law is actually, the law brings death, but the law is actually righteous, right? The law is actually a good thing. And Jesus himself says, well, here's the 2 commandments. Love the Lord your God with all your heart. As you know, love your neighbor as yourself. All the law is summed up into this. So that means we can't just like look at the law and just be like, yeah, we're not under that anymore and it's not a big deal. It is a big deal and it is good. And the law gives us an idea of how we are to treat our neighbors. And so my view of this, when it comes down to the way we are to live our Christian lives ethically and our job, if you will, well, when it comes down to this pacifism idea, my feeling is that we can't just ignore the way we are supposed to treat our neighbors, because we already know how we're supposed to treat our neighbors, because the Old Testament gives us a whole bunch of ideas of what that might be. So what happens in 2020 that has thrown everybody completely upside down is that all of a sudden you've got protests happening, you've got BLM stuff happening, you've got riots happening. As I know, as you guys have heard me say, 3 blocks that way, Kenosha riots happening, places being burned to the ground, people in their neighborhood, their tires being slashed and this and the other. Because I'm a moron and naive and ignorant and kind of dumb, let's be honest, I said it, I thought that all Christians would be like in lockstep. We are against this kind of violence. We are against rioting. We are against these things. Why are we against that? Because it's unjust. And we have an idea of what justice is because of the Old Testament law. It's not a mystery. It's not a mystery what that is. So here's the difference. If we look at this in Christian pacifism, what it says is that basically, hey, if people come and burn my house down, that's not up to me. I look to God to be my protector. I don't protect myself. That's not up to me. And I don't make a big stink about it to the government, because my allegiance is to a higher government than American government, meaning the government of God, right? My allegiance is to Christ. He's the king of the world. So I'm not really worried about what happens in America. Right. That's kind of a little bit of the idea of Christian pacifism, way simplified, and I am not the guy to be teaching it. Some people out there, I'm sure, watching this already know a lot more about this than me. But if you look at it from an extremely simplified point of view, that's an argument that you can make. And the reason I'm saying is that some people had a bit of a problem when I showed up on Fox News saying, yeah, I'm going to have to get my, practice my 2A rights here and look outside my window all night long to protect my family. Well, some people had a little bit of a problem with that, because that's not being pacifistic. That is not turning the other cheek. That is not loving your neighbor, this and the other. Well, I guess one of the reasons I said all that stuff about the law is, I guess here's what I'm trying to say. Hypothetically, let's just say that those riots happen. And let's just say that I am watching out my window, but I'm a pacifist. I'm a Christian pacifist, ready to turn the other cheek. And I am watching people come by who have bad intentions, and they go literally to my neighbor across the street and they start burning their house down with their children in the house. Let's just say they did that. They didn't do that. Let's hypothetically say that they did. I'm watching this thing. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is that the Old Testament law gives us an idea of what justice actually is. And we are supposed to stand up for the weak. We are supposed to stand up for the oppressed. We are not supposed to be silent when it comes to those things. We are supposed to love justice, and we are supposed to love, maybe I shouldn't say, we are supposed to hate lawlessness. Does that say good? We are supposed to love a system of just laws, and we know what those laws are. And we are supposed to hate lawlessness. So as I'm watching across the street, and we have protesters coming by, hypothetically, they begin to burn down the house across the street with the kids in the house. In that situation, who is the one who is being oppressed? What does it mean to stand up for justice in that situation? Well, the pacifist says God is the God of justice. He is the only righteous judge, so it's not in my hands. And that is what I have a problem with. Jesus said all of the laws of the Old Testament, they're all summed up in this: love your neighbor as yourself. So in my view, what does it mean for me to love my neighbor in this situation? Well, I'm supposed to stand up for the just, and that is my neighbor who did not do anything to incite this protest. This is where the confusion came in, you see, because if you say something against the protest, it sounds mean. And so I want to expand this idea, and I'm admitting to you that I'm expanding it. I want to write a name for it. I'll get a name for it. I think what I might call it is cultural therapeutic pacifism. I just made that up. Cultural therapeutic pacifism. And what it means is that we don't need to do anything or say anything that might hurt somebody's feelings. We need therapy. We need a culture of just therapeutic pacifism, make people feel good. And if you say something against those rioters, it makes it sound like that you don't care about racism. It makes it sound like that you're not aware that slavery was a thing that was horrific. It makes it sound like you're not aware that redlining or Jim Crow rights or X, Y, or Z, you make it sound like that you don't know those things existed and you don't believe they existed and that you don't believe in racism today because you're saying that you don't think that these riots are a good idea. That is what happens. And so a pacifistic way to say it is, guys, we just don't need to say anything. We need to be nice. We need to give everybody the happies, and we all care, and we all love each other. But that's not actually standing up for justice. So I ask you, is the Christian supposed to stand up for justice? I think we are. So in this situation, what does it mean to stand up for justice? That means that I need to be outspoken in my situation in America for my government to not allow unjust laws. And that is why I get so upset when I look at what's happening in America and I find out literally that there are people that are refusing to shut their businesses and they're saying, I am not shutting my business for coronavirus. Those people, the owners, are being arrested and taken to jail whilst, that's a good word, right? Whilst, makes me sound, you hear the S&T, whilst people who rioted and set fires to things were let out of, even if they were arrested, they were actually let out for the most part. We had celebrities, rich, white, privileged celebrities, raised $200 million or so, along with people, as you already know, on Team Biden and Team Harris, raised over $200 million with all these celebrities, and they went and they bailed out all these rich white kids that burned down businesses in downtown areas. They're let out of prison, while people who say, I'm not shutting down my business, are put into prison. So when I look at this, this is what's crazy is what I want. I know that a lot of Christians, I do believe they have good intentions. They believe they're being like Jesus by doing it. But we already know what a just government does because we have the law of the Old Testament. And Jesus says all of that is summed up into this. Love your neighbor even as you love yourself. So if loving your neighbor means standing up for the weak, then I think it's actually more like Jesus to stand up and say, that is wrong. It is not okay to burn down buildings. It is not okay to throw bricks at cops. It's not okay to threaten people's neighborhoods. Am I wrong? Tell me if I'm wrong. Go ahead. You can comment down there. I won't be mad, I promise. This idea of cultural therapeutic pacifism, I believe it's infecting the church in tons of ways because we are now more interested in tone than just being honest. And I wrote that in my book. I wrote it in the intro of my book. We are more interested in the way we come across than in what we are saying. And it is causing us to be weak, you guys. Now, being gracious, I believe there's a lot of great Christians that mean really well, and they think they are doing something radical by in the words of Jesus, by doing this. But in the meantime, they're actually not standing up for the weak. That's what's kind of weird about it. So I want to say it in love, and I'm not trying to be rude. You think you're standing up for the weak because of the true injustices of slavery and the true injustices of civil rights. I get that. But now when you look at it, when you look at it in 2020, that's not actually what you're doing. The weak are actually not being spoken for by the silence. So I have a problem with that. Further graciousness would say this. This is what I mean when I say it's a little bit of a misunderstanding of Americanism. We live in a country. I think the foundations of America are genius. I think the philosophy is genius. We live in a country where the government works for us. So it's for us to hold the government accountable to what they say they are going to do. That's not a revolution. That's not revolting against the government. Look, if the government said this, if the government said, hey, we are banning certain words. We're banning the word blue. You're not allowed to say blue. Nobody say blue or you're going to jail. Nobody up in here. And then I say, wait a minute, but I have free speech. I should be able to say the word blue. And you, government, you made a contract with me that you would not step into my natural rights. That's my God-given right. And that was your contract that you made with me. It's you breaking the contract. You are the one revolting against the contract. You're the one in rebellion against the contract with me, right? It is the consent of the governed. America's a genius place. So it is not revolution when people say, hey, that's not what you're supposed to do. And I'm holding you, government, accountable to what you're supposed to do. Because the government recognizes that there is a higher authority than government, which is why it's amazing, which is God, by the way, in case that wasn't clear. God is the top. And the founders of America recognize that, which is amazing stuff. So in terms of graciousness, here's what I think's happened. I think that a lot of Christian leaders and a lot of Christian people have rightly recognized this. I'm going to say something against conservatives. Yeah, that's right. I think that a lot of Christians have rightly recognized that too many conservative Christians, evangelicals, whatever you want to call it, the Christian right, have sort of looked at America as being the kingdom of God. Okay? Like America and the kingdom of God are basically the same thing. That is not true. And I think that a lot of people have recognized that over the last few decades, mainly in the last 2 decades. They've realized that there's been a little bit of a conflation where there shouldn't be, okay? And a lot of Christians, a lot of conservatives look at Trump like he's, an apostle, all right? Trump is not an apostle, okay? In Trump we trust. We don't trust in Trump. We trust in God, all right? In God we trust, not in Trump we trust. So I do think that what's happened is a lot of these Christians I'm talking about rightly recognize something that is out of balance, okay? And because of that, had this massive pendulum swing all the way to the other side, which is very much like, almost like they might even be embarrassed to say they're pro-America because it makes them sound, I mean, it's really lame to me, by the way. It's really lame to me that being pro-America is like a dead giveaway that you're a conservative. I don't think that should be the case, yet it is. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Well, obvious reasons, without getting too into it, is that I'm generalizing, but the left, and I don't mean all liberals, but the left, okay, leftism is not really pro-America. They might be pro-America as they want her to be, but they are not pro-America as she is. They're not pro-America as she began. All right, they believe that America was birthed in racism and colonialism, birthed in patriarchy, birthed in prejudice, xenophobia, homophobia, whatever phobia, okay, transphobia. They believe that America actually began as a really bad place, and it has remained so, and it is systemically racist, it's systemically evil, and it needs a radical transformation, okay? They believe that capitalism is evil. All the things that are tied to Americanism are actually bad things. So the left, again, not all liberals, not all Democrats, not everybody that voted for Biden, I'm not trying to generalize, but I think that it's kind of self-evident, and it is definitely philosophically accurate, by the way. The left does not view America as a place of tolerance and a place of freedom and liberation and a place that has been great for the world. All right. Whereas the right does think that. So I think what's happened is that a lot of pastors have been like, hey, we need to have unity. And the most important thing is Christ, not who you vote for in a presidential election, because America is not the kingdom of God. True. Fact check. True. So because of that, they are very against being pro-America. Okay. I kind of understand why it's happened. But I think it's a little bit of a confusion about what Americanism actually is. And the fact that Americanism is just like, Americanism is the best form of government the world has ever seen for Christianity to be free in. It just is. We have freedom of speech. We have freedom of assembly, freedom of religion. We can say whatever we want about Christ because the government cannot intrude upon us. It's pretty amazing for that fact, okay? And so I think that's a little bit different. But I also think that it's a misunderstanding of Americanism because in America, as I said, it is not wrong to, quote, have a revolution against the government when they don't uphold their end of the contract. That's not actually a revolution. That is holding them accountable. So it's pretty important stuff. So that is why I don't see this like in terms of pacifism. I would see pacifism more like the government coming to me and holding a gun to my head and saying, if you say Jesus one more time, if you say that Jesus is the only Lord of the earth, then we're going to kill you. So, at that point, I would say, oh, I'm ready to be martyred for my faith. I mean, I'm not like I'm looking forward to that. But I'm ready to be martyred for my faith. To me, that is what it means to not love your life even unto death, as the New Testament says about the disciples, right? They didn't even love their lives unto death. Well, I don't love my life unto death, but I do happen to live in a country that works for me. So that's not a revolution. So I think that part of the reasons, in a gracious way, I do think that we've gone weak, and I think it's because we've misunderstood our government, and I think it's because we've misunderstood those scriptures. It is loving to your neighbor to stand up for justice, and sometimes that's going to have to mean saying things that hurt people's feelings. So now what I want to do is give you a few practical things that have happened to show you the difference that I hope will encourage you in your faith, that will make you say, oh, it's okay that I stand up strong for the Word of God. Okay, I got to tell you about my second sponsor. As you know, I am a part owner of an amazing company called Hawk and Hatchet. We have products for guys and products for girls, but what I loved about it was that the guys' apothecary stuff actually was masculine, all right? Because every Christmas, my wife will get me like dudes' apothecary stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that kind of smells a little bit like strawberries, and it's not really what I'm into. And check this out, John Cooper body wash, beard wax, beard oil, one of our candles here, girl stuff and guys stuff. We are offering 20% off of the entire store. The beard products are simply awesome, all right? All you got to do is use the code Cooper Stuff. You see how I make up these amazing codes and everything. hawkandhatchet.com. Anything on the whole store, use the code Cooper Stuff, get 20% off. You're going to love it. Get one for your dude, get one for your husband or for your son. They're going to love it. And we've got great girl stuff on there. Check it out. Okay, let me tell you about a couple things that have happened this week so we can make this practical. As you guys know, a few weeks back, I wrote something called Make Pastors Uncool Again, all right? Well, a lot of people, like you guys, liked it. There's a lot of people out there that don't like it. I did an interview this week with preachers and sneakers, and it was really cool. We talked a bit about it. I am still surprised to see how many Christians are like, John, you're just so mean. Why do you say such mean stuff? Oh, here's your cookie. I don't know why, but it's like I've done something incredibly mean, people are like, John, pastors can look cool too. Or they're like, oh, yeah, well, you get to look cool. First of all, thank you. I'm just saying, you're the one that said it. Thank you. Pastors aren't victims because they don't, because it's just crazy. They're victims. They don't get to look cool. Do you guys realize how weak we sound? The nice part of the podcast is over. The gracious part's over. This is why. If we don't say stuff that's true, do you know how unloving it is to not say things that are true? It's just unloving. And the silliness, the absolute silliness, you guys, that a pastor, come on, let's just be let's just be honest. A pastor goes out, has a 6-month affair with somebody he's been sleeping with while he's got a wife and kids. And for us as Christians to not be like, dude, I hate that. I hate it. Don't ever preach again. To not be able to say that makes no sense. It makes zero sense. And it is so weak. It is so weak of us to be like, nobody be mean. We got to be nice. Show love. Subarus, love, puppy. That doesn't make any sense to be like that. You know who it doesn't make sense to? The world. This is the crazy things, you guys, is that Christians have gotten so, like, as I said earlier, therapeutic, what do I call it? Cultural therapeutic pacifism is genius. I got to remember this. We've gotten so therapeutic and pacifist, it has come out into the things we say. You can't say anything that's mean or that's going to hurt somebody's feelings, pointing out an obvious truth. This is the bizarre thing. The world sees it, and the world is like, what's wrong with this dude? What is wrong with this guy? I shared this with you guys a few weeks ago. A few weeks ago, I shared with you that I had personal friends that hit me that are not saved, not Christians. They're in the world. Some of them were heathens, but they were mad about it. Well, guess what I discovered? One of my friends, Scott, he sent this to me. He said, dude, did you see what Joe Rogan had to say about this? And I said, no, I haven't seen this. And so I'm going to play a little bit for you guys for a couple reasons. Number one, Joe Rogan. I don't know that much about Joe Rogan. He's like the biggest, most famous podcaster in the world. But I'm pretty positive Joe Rogan, I know he's not a Christian, but I'm pretty positive he's not religious in any way. I might be wrong about that. I should have done my homework. I didn't have time. I had a book that came out this week. I'm an author now. There's that. So anyway, but he's not a religious person. He's not a conservative. All right. He's kind of a center left kind of a guy, right? This is what he had to say about it. I want you to see it. But before I do, I just need to say this. I tried to bleep out all the cuss words. I hope that this isn't too offensive, but you kind of need to see what he says because it's kind of like pretty shocking stuff.
There was a guy that we've made fun of a bunch on the show who was a pastor to a lot of famous people. He was like the hip young pastor.
Who just got busted?
Yeah, he just got busted.
Right.
Banging some chick.
Yeah.
And we made fun of him because I'm like, look, there's no way this guy's religious. This is what I was saying. Because he was wearing these shorts that showed what I called his Like he wears these shorts that go way low, which you just don't wear your shorts like that unless you want someone to think about your penis.
Right.
But I mean, there's no reason to.
Oh, gotcha. Right.
Guys who wear their shorts that low,
right,
they're being overtly sexual to people that they don't even necessarily know. Right? Mm-hmm. You're trying to, and you want everyone to look at your chiseled body. You know, like this is none of the. There's a reason why monks dress in these like very modest clothes that cover everything. They don't even want to think about their body. Right. And that is a part of the religion of both celebrity and social media. Right. That this guy has got these traditional Christian ideas fused in with the religion of celebrity, in with the religion of social media, and then you're seeing that it doesn't really work because like what's the reward for those behaviors? The reward is he wants to like that guy. That guy wants people to. That guy wants people to lust after him.
Hey, Core, don't send. Yeah, do not send those woke cookies to Joe Rogan. He doesn't want them, baby. He don't like no woke cookies. Oh no, won't go there. Yeah, I saw it. I was like, yeah, what's up? That's exactly right. That's exactly right. We're talking about somebody from the world that is not religious. Clearly, from the way he talks, you can tell. This is not a guy that goes to church. That he's just like, Yeah, we've been making fun of this for years. That's not the way that you dress when you claim to be when you claim to be a pastor. Guys, this is obvious, and the world is saying it. Then why can't Christians say it? I think it's time for us to stop being weak, all right? So I just wanted to say that because, honestly, it brought me so much joy and laughter. I was just so happy. So that's one interesting thing that happened this week. What's another thing? This is a pretty cool thing. I believe this actually happened 2 weeks ago, but I didn't have time to talk about it. So when it comes down to the whole idea of opening up churches, as you know, I've shared about this and this and the other. Look, before I say it, let's just acknowledge this. I say it all the time, but everything is just so polarized. If you say one thing, everybody goes, oh, then you must mean X and Z. I'm like, I didn't say X and Z, so I got to say it every time. Coronavirus is real. People die from coronavirus. I do take it seriously. I know it's real. I've never said otherwise. I've never said go cough and lick people, okay? I know it's real. But I tend to be on the side, as you know, I'm conservative. I don't believe that the government has the right to step and tread upon my individual rights because they don't come from the government. They come from God, okay? And that's the government's deal with me. And I don't trust the government. Why? Because they suck. That was called a decrescendo, and then I crescendoed it in at the end with no edits, so you could know that I'm a musician, so there's that. All right. The government is going to screw up constantly, all right? They're going to lie to you. They're going to do bad stuff. They tend to be tyrannical, and the left doesn't mind a little bit of tyranny. Let's just say it. They really don't mind a little bit of tyranny, all right? As long as it's kind of like on their side. The right is supposed to be against tyranny. Then why are some of the churches kind of all of a sudden going, hey, I don't mind a little tyranny. The government's nice. They're our friends. Care, bear, share. Why are they doing that? What's the deal? So here's the thing. Yes, COVID's real. I don't want the government all up in my business. So we have all this stuff. Different parts of the country are different. Now listen, if this had a 50 or 60% death rate, I wouldn't be going to church. But it doesn't, okay? So I just tell people, hey, if you've got underlying factors or if you live with grandma, whatever your situation is, then don't go to church, man, or do whatever you think you need to do. That's your business, all right? But if you don't, I want to go to church and I want to sing to Jesus. And I don't want the government saying that I can't sing to Jesus, especially when they lie to me all the stinking time. So what's happened is, as you guys know, in California, we got these hypocrite government, as you know, and government officials and everybody else saying that you can't go to church. And so you have people like Pastor John MacArthur who have stood up against it. Lots of other nameless, faceless pastors who are brave and who have actually suffered a lot because they've said, we're not shutting down. And they have stood up. And they're just not as famous as John MacArthur, and they don't have the money. They don't have the kind of money. Some of them are going out of business. Some of them are, I say business, I know it's not the right word for a church, but you get it. Some of them are like, we don't have money. How are we going to keep the church going? Okay, you got to keep the lights on, things like that. So that has been going on, as you know. I'm about to tie in a whole lot of things to this one subject. You're going to love it. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, I love Cooper stuff. Yeah, buy the book. All right, so here's the deal. As you know, when John MacArthur came out and said that, I was shocked and stunned and dismayed, a little angry, a little sad, a little like, what's going on? A little confused. What's the deal? That there were so many famous Christian people coming out against John MacArthur. They're like, why are you being so mean? Why do you want to kill people? It's malpractice, somebody said. It was a famous, I think it was from 9 Marks. Was it 9 Marks or was it SBC? I can't remember. I'm 99% positive it was 9 Marks. Came out against John MacArthur, and they were basically like, look, everybody take it easy. It might be malpractice to open your church up and start killing people, and don't revolt against the government. It's really silly. We don't need to make the government think we're bad people. At some point, we're going to need the government to stand with us on critical issues, and we don't want to cry wolf. Don't make them mad. Don't make people feel sad. You want to make people have the happies. That's basically what they were saying. And I was dismayed because I was like, yes, stand up. Why? Because the government was clearly overstepping their deal. And we know they're overstepping their deal because casinos were open, strip clubs are open, abortion clinics open. You can go buy marijuana. You can go to liquor stores. They'll let more people go into a liquor store than come to your house for Thanksgiving. I mean, it's true. More people can go into a liquor store than go to your church meeting or come to your house for Christmas. It's insanity. And when you see that stuff, you go, okay, something weird is going on, and we're going to open up our churches. Why? For lots and lots of reasons. But listen to me. I've been reading this for months, and I've read a ton of people say it, and I'm going to say it too because I believe it. We let the government, I mean, it's startling how easily we gave up our rights. They said, go lock up, shut down your business, don't go to church, don't go see grandma, don't go to the grocery. And we said, okay. It's true. I did too. We all did it. And then once we realized we're not dealing with the bubonic plague here. Yes, it's real. Yes, people die. It's not like smallpox was in 1901 or 4, whatever it was. What was that? Like a 30% death rate. This isn't Black Plague. This isn't 50% death rate, 60% death rate. That's not what this is. And we know it's not what it is because the government is letting you do some other things. So it seems like there's a clampdown on Christianity. So now, before I get to what I'm saying, I'm going to tie in one other issue, which was, you guys remember during the presidential election, when I was talking about all these Christian people coming out going, oh, Supreme Court justices don't even really matter anyway. If you care about Supreme Court justices, all you really care about, what was that guy from the Phil Vischer video? All you really care about is your crotch. It's not even like a big thing. It's just
crotch Christianity.
Those people, we know that they're lying to us. Why is that? Because we're not stupid. Because we have eyes. Because we can read stuff. Because we have ears. We can hear stuff. We see what's happening. Do you guys remember that? The reason I'm saying this is about 2 weeks ago, as I said, I think it was 2 weeks ago, the Supreme Court slapped down the governor of New York in terms of, Governor Cuomo for religious freedom. He was wanting to put on all these restrictions on religious gatherings. And guess what happened? The Supreme Court justice outruled him 5-4. So we barely made it. Why were we able to do that? Because Amy Coney Barrett did become a Supreme Court justice, and because she became a Supreme Court justice, it tilted the court. And now guess what? People in New York we have kept religious freedom because of the court. So I guess what I want to say is, for all those people out there that were like, Supreme Court justices don't even really matter anyway, booyah! It just makes me so happy. You know what makes me so happy is the amount of information is changing so fast that I can come on Cooper Stuff and make fun of something, and 3 weeks later it can happen, and then I can be like, see, I told you, they did it. They did. We can point fingers up in here. That's not really very nice. Yeah, that's because they're being dumb. So that's that. I am so excited about that. So why am I talking about all those things? Well, I'm saying all those things because whereas we have this group of like pacifistic Christians that don't want to rock the boat because they say that, well, Jesus, he wants us to be nice and caring and all these things. And I know that they really believe it. I get it. But there is a group of, I hate to say this, but I need to nuance it. There is a group of those Christians that I think are wonderful and love God with all their hearts. But then there also is a group of this Christian pacifists that I don't think have the best intentions. I think their intentions are more in line with woke cookies. I think their intentions are more in line with, I want to make peace with the world and we don't need to rock the boat. And I want the world to think that I'm a good person. I don't want to make anybody mad because I want to reach them for Jesus, but I don't want to make them mad and yada, yada. Not realizing the kind of pain and the kind of hurt and the kind of injustice that will happen if we don't speak out about what we believe. In other words, if we don't fight for those kinds of things and liberty in the government, then it's not just going to affect Christians, it's going to affect everybody. Everybody. It's going to affect all of us because tyrannical government is going to hurt not just Christian people. It's going to hurt, at some point, it's going to hurt every single person. They will come for you too because the government is not good. I actually think the fact that we live in America, the government works for me, that it is loving your neighbor by standing up and saying these people are hypocrites and they should not be able to step on your natural rights. They don't believe what they're saying. All that they want to do is create tyranny. And the reason it's loving your neighbor is because they create tyranny. It will be tyrannical for all of us in the end. And in the end, everyone will have wished that they had stood up for liberty. So that's what it is. It's time for Christians to stop being weak. It's time for Christians to understand what Americanism is all about. So you'll see that you're not rebelling against your government. This is in our Constitution. This government belongs to us, which is an amazing thing. They work for us. It is time for Christians to realize that being strong is loving your neighbor. But if the only standards you have is that nobody should get their feelings hurt, newsflash, that ain't never going to happen. You should get over that now, okay? You're going to make people mad if you say things that are true. That's just the way that it is. Fact check. What's that? Is it true? It's true. The wife says so. Fact check true. If you say things that are true, you are going to make people mad. That's the job. That's the calling. It's time for us to get over it. No more Christians got weak. We got to get strong and bold as a lion up in here. Thank you so much for watching Cooper Stuff. Don't forget about my new book. Remember, it's a killer gift for a kid. It's a stocking stuffer. It's like this big. Fit right into the stocking. And then people look it out and they go, joy to the world. That's what they're going to say. Don't forget, buy my book. Get it for a friend. Tomorrow's the last day for the 12 Days of Christmas with Compassion. Join me on John Cooper Christmas. We're going to have a bonus episode, I hope, in the middle of the week if it works out. We're going to see. I got some surprises for you. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to end this episode by showing you a really clip. I got to meet Mike Huckabee this week. I was on his show, and I got to present him with a gorgeous Hawk and Hatchet candle. This smells exactly like a black leather jacket. That's how we're going to end. Have a great week. Love ya. Peace. What is up? I'm here. I have the privilege tonight to hang out with Mr. Mike Huckabee, the governor. And a lot of people don't know because of the way he dresses.
Yeah.
But you're a rebel.
I try.
You are a rebel. You stand up for truth, and you don't take nothing from nobody. You don't apologize. So this is my candle series. This one's called Black Leather Jacket. Because he doesn't look like a rebel, but he is.
Beneath this mask.
Anyway, this is for you. It smells exactly like a black leather jacket.
Does it really?
Yes.
Can I check it out?
Please do.
Even through the mask, it does.
It does, doesn't it?
It really does.
I saw you on TV once with a brown leather jacket on.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that is awesome.
All right. That it's going to make your Christmas.
Thank you. Can't wait to light this one up. Thank you, guys.
You're supposed to be nice. Love thy neighbor. But God is love. Love. Puppies. Kittens. Love. It's what makes a Subaru. Love. 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 All you need is love. God wants us to be nice to people so they don't have the sads. Yes, make a stand unless it hurts other people's feelings. Feelings. Self-love. Self-care. Care Bears share. Happies. Things that make people feel bad shouldn't actually be spoken. Love, 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 love. Puppies, rainbows, love.
Read the Bible.
Kill myself!